Today on the Bourbon Bites podcast, I'm joined by a few friends for a flight of 3 Hazmat Jack Daniel's Coy Hill single barrels. Will the highest proof come out on top? Stick around and find out. Alright guys, I am back for another flight with my friends here in our local group. I am here with none other than Brandon. I'm a smart idiot on Instagram.
Woo-woo! What's up guys? How we doing?
Good to see you again, Brandon. I am also here with Juan, Whiskey Padawan.
Hey everyone.
And I am here with Aaron Artino, Whiskey Pear over on Instagram. Good to see you again.
Hey everybody.
So we are doing another whiskey flight tonight. This one is not blind, but it is 3 different whiskeys that I know I have been dying to try. I'm so thankful for these guys for bringing these for this tasting. We are trying 3 different Jack Daniel's Coy Hill releases. So these are all 3 at different proofs. They are very close in proof. They're also very close in age. These are almost like to the date, like about the same age. What did we say they were?
Roughly 9 years.
Roughly 9 years. They are all like a week or 2 apart from each other. They are going up in proof from 140.4 all the way to 141.2. So very little variance there, but I'm really excited to try all 3 of these. Again, I know like I've never been able to get my hands on these, so hopefully those of you listening, maybe you've had a chance to try one of them, but I understand if you haven't. We did just try an amazing single barrel pick of Jack Daniel's single barrel proof from David Jennings over at Rare Bird 101. If you missed that podcast, make sure to listen to the replay of that one from a couple weeks ago. But this week we are doing this flight. I'm so excited. Are you guys excited?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Experience-wise with Jack Daniel's, just in general, Jack Daniel's, are you guys like Jack Daniel's fans? Are you kind of like sometimes? Or what about you, Brandon?
I mean, I'm the outlier. Back when I was younger, I was Jack and Coke.
Me too.
That was me.
That's not an outlier. That was me too.
That was me, and obviously I've grown, to appreciate it more for a distillery than others. But
Yeah. What about you, Juan?
I didn't have all that much experience with Jack except for the regular release, number 7. But when they started to release the special editions, I was very intrigued. So I definitely jumped into the Heritage Barrel. And then the new rye release, and I definitely had to try this Coy Hill release as well. So that's where I got started.
Awesome. What about you, Aaron?
I'm with Juan. I wasn't really necessarily a fan of the Jack Daniel's products until they released the Heritage Barrel, and I missed out on that one. I was able to get some of the rye bottles, and I absolutely love the Jack Daniel Barrel Proof Rye. I think they're killing it. They're putting out amazing products, and I'm looking forward to what comes out after this as well.
So it sounds like we are all kind of on the same boat, right? Like we kind of started with Jack Daniel's. We kind of shied away from it a bit when we got into like bourbon. And I know some of you guys are more into scotch and stuff, but we've all kind of come back around into Jack Daniel's, especially at barrel proof, whether it's the rye or the bourbon or this new Coy Hill release. So for those of us like myself that have not had a chance to try it, what makes this Coy Hill release different from the single barrel proofs that we've had before?
These releases come from the rickhouses that are at the top, at the peak of Coy Hill. There's 2. It's rickhouse 8 and 13. In addition to being from those rickhouses, these bottles, or at least the barrels that these bottles come from, came from the top of the rickhouse, which they call the Buzzard's Roost. So you're talking about that last level of 1 or 2 barrels off the top of the rickhouse. What you get with that is enormous amounts of temperature fluctuation and really, really high temperatures. That's part of the reason that these are so high proof. And in my opinion, I think it imparts quite a bit more flavor, and it's really an interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the top of the rickhouse typically is the highest proof of any release. I mean, we saw with the Old Forester, the single barrels, those were typically younger, but also like really high proof. So the rumor was that those were like at the top of the rickhouse. This range for these Coy Hill releases, I know, Brandon, you were doing a little bit of research beforehand. What is the range for these Coy Hills?
So the range for the Coy Hills is anywhere between 137.4 all the way up to 148.3 proof on these bottles.
Wow. So we are like
crazy.
We're technically on the lower end, but we're kind of in the middle. So I'm really curious to see how these 3 compare. Like I said, I realize that most people can't get their hands on this. So we're approaching this with a very like open mind, as if like this was, I mean, to be fair, tonight is the first time I've had a chance to try any of these. So I'm very grateful for these guys. But we're going to let you guys know, are they worth it? I mean, these guys paid, we'll say pricing-wise, what do they typically go for?
70
Retail is right around $70.
Yeah.
Retail is 70, but secondary is like crazy right now, right?
to-
$450 plus.
Yeah.
450 plus. Holy moly. Okay. Well, we will be judging these from a retail perspective. I know, they could go for secondary. But $70, you know what? That's in line with what I would expect them to be. The Jack Daniel's single barrel proofs are around 60, so these are higher proof, supposedly the more special barrels. So let's see how they do. So let's start with the lowest proof, which is 140.4 proof. So let's go ahead and give that a nose, guys.
Wow. That's all I have to say is wow on the nose. Super rich.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Oh,
the
absolutely.
nose is rich. Like I get a lot of banana, vanilla, almost like a banana's Foster.
Doesn't smell nearly as hot as you might expect.
No.
Right. These,
No.
I also should mention, these are all Hazmat Jack Daniel's releases, which I have never had the opportunity to try. So I'm so excited. But you're right. It doesn't nose as hot as it should be. Or not that it should be, but you expect.
It's kind of sweet and fruity and friendly. Like it's.
Yeah, I'm getting that vanilla. The vanilla, the strong, like, desserty kind of quality to it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. With a proof of this level, you would probably expect a huge burst of ethanol, and that's not what I'm getting. I'm getting more flavors behind, just a small amount of ethanol.
You guys ready to try it?
Yeah. Cheers,
All right,
boys.
cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Taste that proof, though. That's hot.
It's hot,
Oh yeah.
but it's also not overpowering.
Good.
No.
Oak character up front. And
You get a lot more of the age on the palate. On the nose, you're really not getting that oak.
I definitely get the age
Yeah.
on it too, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially going from some of the ones we were trying earlier, which were a bit younger. Now age-wise for the Koi Hill releases, you said they're around. What is the age on these typically?
I would
They
say
were
right around
around 8 to 9 years.
9 years,
Yeah.
give or take.
So they're really not that much older. I think it's just because that high
The
of the
hyper aging
yeah.
almost.
They're almost hyper aged in a way, especially when you consider like the fact that they are at the highest hill of Jack Daniel's and also at the highest part of that rick house. So.
Exactly.
Which is kind of an interesting point because, again, is there any distillery that actually uses those top barrels at any of their rick houses for a single barrel?
I mean, the only thing I
Release?
can compare it to is the Old Forester, the single barrel proofs. I'd heard no, it's not confirmed, but there are rumors that those are from the top. And then also the benchmark. The benchmark releases, they had a top floor release.
Yeah, that's the only one I know off the top of my
Yeah.
head that actually says it's from the top floor, whereas these ones do say that, but all the other ones, you don't know if it's
You're
single
right.
barrel, if it's batched, if it's, whatever.
And people go crazy with like Four Roses too. They're like, oh wait, which rack was that
tier
on?
5,
Yeah,
tier
which-
6, yeah, they go crazy for them.
So it's
Funny too
interesting.
because those are like one level warehouse.
Right, they're like just like one
a
up.
smaller
yeah.
difference than like a 5 tier that you get from bigger rick house.
Most definitely, but
Do you guys get any kind of like primary notes?
I just get a lot of like typical brown Foreman notes. I get brown sugar, I get banana, I get the ethanol, I get the vanilla.
And-
I would say that I get right up front. I get a lot of honey.
On the nose or the palate or both.
Palate.
Okay.
So the good thing about me is like I'm very like hit or miss with Brown Foreman. I will say there's a certain type of banana note that I'm a fan of. I love when the banana tastes like Bananas Foster or like banana nut bread. The baked desserty banana. I'm a fan of like, is it weird to say warm banana? I don't know. I'm a fan of that. I'm not a fan of like fake banana, like banana runts or anything like that. Which I do get on some products. This is all desserty. Like this is like rich desserty banana, which I think you guys are picking up on as well. Yeah.
Or, like,
Mhm.
Through and
vanilla,
through and
caramel, the banana. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's banana sponsor.
It's very good.
Yeah, I agree. Man, for the first one. I will say we have been drinking, so like this isn't our first pour of the night. But it is one of the best I've had so far, so.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, I enjoy this more than the single barrel pick that we had earlier too.
Oh, interesting. And
Even though it's higher proof, it's more enjoyable because the flavor is almost turned up
yeah.
comparatively to the pick.
So if y'all missed that was 128-ish proof. So we're jumping up a full like 12 proof points to get to these. So
It's very good, especially again, we're going to be comparing it at $70 MSRP, of course.
yeah,
Would be,
and also like take that with a grain of salt. Like,
Yeah.
I know you guys probably can't get it for that cheap. I can't get it that cheap. But it would be unfair to judge this at the $450 level. I mean, to be fair, like we'll judge it at retail. So, all right. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is only slightly higher proof. So we are going from 140.4 to 140.7. So we're going up 0.3 proof points. Again, around the same age. But let's see if it makes a difference. Now these are different. They're all single barrel products, so we got to mention that.
Right. These are essentially sister barrels from the same warehouse.
They're close in age, they're close in proof, but I'm curious to see just how close are they? So on the nose, are you guys getting it similar or different?
To me, it's totally different. To me, it's not bananas foster anymore. It's almost like banana, like you said, like a nut bread. I get more of that coming through rather than the sweet vanilla that you get from the caramelization of the bananas foster. So
it's got an added kind of earthiness and like a walnut or like a
almost like a. I mean, to be
nutty.
fair,
It is nutty.
I dig this one more than the first one on the nose so far. Like, there's more going on. It's not just vanilla and banana kind of thing, and that's about it.
It's kind of like it's the same as, but an added layer.
It's almost one step up from what it was. It's just one step better.
Yeah.
Very similar, but just got a little bit more going on.
Yeah, and where the other one, the honey note stood out for me. This one, I seem to get a little bit more on the. I'm not the best at nosing, but I do seem to get a lot more cinnamon on this one.
Yeah, I'm very excited to try this one. So cheers, guys. Let's try this one.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Wow. Now,
Spice comes through on the palate.
I was gonna say, I don't know about you guys, but it drinks way hotter than A. Or the first one we tried, way hotter to me, like spicier.
Wow, really?
So here's how I interpret that. You say hotter. To me, I think this has a better body to it, and I feel like it lingers the flavors longer. So I could see why would it be interpreted as hotter. For me, it's like it's the same. It doesn't necessarily taste hotter to me. However, it's thicker, and I feel like it lingers longer. So I could see why someone would say it would be hotter. But that's just my opinion. What about you, Juan?
For me, it seems to give me a lot more notes and a lot more impact than the first one. Admittedly, the first one at 140.4, was it?
Yeah.
That was my bottle, and not my favorite. This one is definitely beating it. I gotta say.
How about you, Aaron?
I'd have to agree. It's probably the best pour I've had all night.
It's good.
It's really it's like I was saying earlier. It's a lot like the 140.4, but there's just a little bit more going on, and it's got more of that viscosity and body that I really enjoy. I love a really good viscous whiskey because as you guys know, I like smoking cigars, and I think that you need something like that to pair with a cigar. Or
and I feel like this would definitely, the first two we've had would definitely pair very well with cigar.
Well, you're a cigar person. Do you have a cigar that just comes to mind that you would want to pair with this?
Oh, that's a great question. I think a good lighter Connecticut would pair well with this. Just because you wouldn't necessarily want something super rich or super, like a Maduro or a Padron or something that's like really super full body. But then again, I might change my mind if I was smoking this cigar. I think a Connecticut would go really good. That's my final answer.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's weird how like the body of the whiskey changes so much, even though proof wise is about the same. Like, what determines that? Like, as the oil, like I'm sure it's like the oils or just something about the way it works in the barrel. Like, I don't think that's something that's been really investigated very much.
Again, it's the nature of the beast, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of whiskey in general. Like I said, these are sister barrels, and yet they're totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's entirely barrel influence.
Mm-hmm.
I've done the entire 10 recipes, 4 Roses flight.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that based on the description of both the mash bill and the yeast that they're using, I'd be able to identify it. And I have some friends that can come pretty close. But for the most part, the barrel influence makes way more, has much more effect than either the mash bill or the yeast strain. It can change it intensely. It makes a much bigger difference.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you 100%. And there are other people out there that care more about the grains or the mash bill more than the barrel, which I'm with you. I'm more on the barrel influence than the grains before.
It's all important, right?
Yes.
They're all components that go into it. But at some point you're talking about the blank canvas and the paint that's used and so on. The grains are important, and the selection of the yeast is very important. Obviously, everything matters, in my opinion at least.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of newer distilleries that are showing that and playing around with the different mash bills and grains and sources and stuff. Frey Ranch, I think, is a perfect example.
For anyone who doesn't know, Frey Ranch is located out in Nevada. It's in Reno, Nevada. It's a micro distillery out here on the West Coast that actually is starting to create waves. It's actually really exciting.
Yeah, we'll try to get them on the stream or a podcast sometime soon, because I know that a lot of people out here are excited about it, but I feel like a lot of people around the U.S. don't really know much about them. So
yeah, and I don't know what their distribution is either. I don't know if it's only in the surrounding states or if it actually is nationwide. I don't know.
So let's move on to our final one, which is the highest proof of the night. This is 141.2. So this one's only 0.5 proof points higher than the others. So, but I'm really curious to see. Again, they're all very similar age, location wise. They're all dumped on the same day. So let's go ahead and move on to the other one. Let's go ahead and give it a nose.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
So this one, I dig the nose the best. To me, it's almost a mixture of 1 and 2 on the nose.
It smells like a rickhouse.
Yeah,
Like,
it smells.
it's much more oaky and.
But you've also got that sweetness that I really enjoy personally on my whiskeys. It's got that banana, it's got the caramel, it's got the vanilla, it's got everything I personally want in the whiskey.
Well, that's interesting because Brandon, you typically like more of like you said earlier you like the runts banana kind of flavor.
Yeah.
You like the
Almost
banana
artificial.
flavor, artificial banana.
Yeah.
I tend to not like that, so I will say on the nose for me, this one isn't quite there with the way that the second one was for me. I think the second one was more of that banana nut bread, which we were all kind of saying.
Yeah.
This one is more like if you like the banana note on a whiskey, like I'm not talking about like cooked banana, I'm not talking like bananas Foster, banana runts. I'm talking like banana, like either it's artificial or just like a really fresh banana. You might like this a bit more. To me, I like the nose of the second one better. But what about you guys?
I have to agree with you. The second one really made an impact on me. This third one, I'm kind of trying to dig into it. It might take me an extra minute.
Yeah, what about you, Aaron?
I do think this one's showing its proof. It doesn't have the nuttiness of the 140.7.
I was really surprised by the nuttiness of the second one,
I mean,
Yeah.
140.7 was a little bit like banana bread,
Mhm.
like delicious.
which I love. I love
Yeah,
that
yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
So I think that the 140.2 is a little bit more oak forward, and it's also from a completely different rick house. It's from Warehouse 13 instead of
which-
8. From what I've seen online, at least, the majority of the bottles of Coy Hill that were above 141 were from Warehouse 13.
Okay.
There was kind of that separation where, like,
I mean, this was the highest proof, so let's see how it tastes. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Oof. There's a lot packed into it.
You definitely taste the proof on that one for
Mhm.
sure.
I taste
But-
it. Oh, yeah.
It's got a lot of flavor too, though. It's
But
not just proof.
That's what I'm
it's
saying.
not
To
just
me, I enjoy this more than the
it
second
kind
one.
of has more fruity sweetness than I would have expected, like, on the palate.
It's more
It's hot.
well rounded. Of course, it's hot, but we're at
proof. Hold on,
141.2.
Juan's dying over here. Why don't you get on it?
The proof definitely made me cough a bit, so I had to catch my breath.
Yeah. Again, like I say again, it's almost a mixture of both of the 1 and 2.
Here's my opinion. This has the most flavor going on in it. I will say at the body and the mouthfeel, the second one that we had, the 140.7, was the most enjoyable. This has more going on. I feel like my flavor, like my tongue is like tingling with all the flavor going on. I wish I had the body of the second one. So like the perfect combination for me would be these two together.
2 and 3.
But that's a good point. You said this is a combination of 1 and 2. One had a lot of flavor, 2 had the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for me personally, the second one, the 140.7, just on its own, is my favorite. But the 141.2 has a lot of flavor. What about you guys? Are you guys leaning? I know you guys are leaning towards 2 or 3. What was your favorite?
Definitely for me, the second one, which was the 140.7. It just it has a lot more standing out for me. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. To me, the third one is a little hot on the palate, but the second one is the most well-rounded
Yeah.
experience with the nose and the palate. Everything's
agree with
going
you.
on. So,
How about you, Aaron?
I agree. The 140.7 is just it's fantastic as is. Like I don't feel like it needs any water to reveal anything. It's delicious.
oh yeah, I agree.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little bit of bonus episode for Patreon where we're going to add a little bit of water to all 3 of these and see if they open up a bit more. I know we're running a little long for the podcast, so for those of you that are just listening on your favorite podcast platform, thank you so much for listening so far. This has been so much fun. I got to say, Jack Daniel's Coy Hill, you can't go wrong. All 3 of these were good, and you guys agree with that?
Definitely.
Definitely.
So we're about to dive a little bit deeper into these. Like I said, this will be for Patreon. Everyone on Patreon, $2 a month or more to support the channel, you get access to the bonus episode where we're going to dive a little bit deeper into all 3 of these and see if the one that's the highest proof opens up a bit with water. So thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for doing this blind flight with me. And I will see you guys next episode. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.